I should have known something was off the second Colin reached for his phone before he reached for my hand. It was our anniversary. Rooftop dinner. City lights behind him. People we knew scattered across the tables. His clients. His brokerage partners. The couple he kept saying I'd love once I got to know them better. And still, he kept checking Instagram like a teenager waiting for someone to validate him. I didn't say anything. I'd learned the hard way that calling him out in public only made him perform harder, made him lean into whatever version of himself he thought the world liked more. But then his phone lit up, and I saw her name, Sabrina Knox, a name I hadn't heard in years but never forgot. The ex who made me feel like a placeholder, the woman he swore he'd barely talked to in the last decade, the woman who always lingered like a shadow in the background of our marriage. The notification preview showed nothing but an emoji. Flirty, stupid, intentional. A heart-eyed reaction to the selfie he'd posted an hour earlier, the selfie I took. I tried to pretend I didn't care. I told myself, it's just an emoji, Talia. You're not that woman anymore. But something in my stomach tightened. Colin excused himself to check something with Landon and left his phone face up on the table. That alone was strange. He never left his phone anywhere. Not with me. Not with our daughter. Not unless he wanted someone to see something. And the universe apparently decided it was time. The screen lit up again. This time, I saw the whole message preview. Colin, wish you were the one here. My throat went dry. The restaurant noise faded. The heat behind my eyes was instant. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't harmless. This was calculated, deliberate, practiced. I stared at the message until it blurred. My fingers curled around the edge of the table so hard my nails bent. When he walked back, laughing with Landon, I was already standing. Talia? Colin frowned. What's with the face? Can you sit? We haven't ordered yet. People turned toward us, subtle at first, then openly. It was impossible not to with the tension radiating off my skin like electricity. I'm not sitting, I said. I reached for the box in my purse, the anniversary gift I'd spent weeks planning. A watch engraved with our wedding date. A reminder of our beginning. My stupid attempt to save something he'd already thrown away. I set it on the table. Hard. Colin's eyebrows rose. What are you... You responded to your ex, I said. My voice didn't shake, which surprised me enough to almost distract me from the pain. You wrote, wish you were the one here, while you were sitting across from me. He froze, just long enough for the guilt to flick across his face. But then he recovered, choosing arrogance over honesty like he always did. Oh my God, Talia. Are you really doing this? He scoffed. Too loud. Too performative. You're acting like a child. It was nothing. The woman at the table next to us glanced over. His business partner leaned closer. Even Landon stopped mid-sentence. It wasn't nothing, I said. You don't tell your ex you wish she were here unless you mean it. Colin laughed. Loud, dismissive, patronizing. You're reading into it. You always do this. Every time things are good, you find something to ruin the night. That hit me like a slap. Not because it was true, but because I realized he actually believed it. I took a slow breath. Show me your phone. He stiffened. No, I'm not entertaining this. You're embarrassing yourself. And me. That was it. The break. The exact moment love snapped like a bone that had been silently fracturing for years. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. I didn't tremble. Instead, I reached for the watch box, popped it open, and held it up so everyone around could see the engraving glinting under the restaurant lights. Happy anniversary, I said. This was supposed to commemorate 12 years of marriage, 12 years I actually valued. I placed the box back down, closed it, and pushed it toward him. But you gave our anniversary to Sabrina. His face drained. The silence around us tightened. Even the servers froze. Talia, he hissed under his breath. Sit down. We can talk about this at home. No, I said. You don't get to plan my reactions anymore. He gritted his teeth. You're blowing up your own life because of a single message. And you've been blowing up our marriage for months because of a single woman. He opened his mouth to argue, but the words never came. Probably because even he couldn't spin his way out of this in a room full of witnesses. I grabbed my purse, took a step back, and felt something inside me shift, an internal click, like a lock sliding open. Talia, he said again, softer, reaching for my wrist. I pulled away. You forgot who took that picture, I said. And you forgot who built the life you're so busy trying to impress people with. His jaw tightened. Landon looked away. Sabrina's emoji reaction still glowed on his phone screen beside the wine glass. I leaned closer, just enough so only he could hear me. And after tonight, I whispered, I'm done being the one who stays. He blinked, stunned, but I didn't give him time to respond. I stepped back from the table. I didn't cry. I didn't look at anyone. I didn't give a speech or create a scene. I simply walked away, and as I pushed open the glass door of the rooftop bar, I said the words that reshaped my entire life. I'm going to make sure you regret ever making me feel small. I didn't look back to see his reaction. I didn't have to. I already knew I'd won the first round. When I left that rooftop, the night air hit me like a truth I'd been avoiding for years. This wasn't sudden. This wasn't surprising. This wasn't new. It was the ending of something I'd been holding together with my hands bleeding. Colin and I didn't start broken. We met when I was 25, working at a tiny marketing agency downtown, fresh out of a bad breakup and determined to restart my life. He was charming then, hungry, ambitious, selling crappy apartments but talking like he was on the edge of greatness. I believed in him long before anyone else did. I gave him optimism he hadn't earned yet. I gave him credibility he didn't have. I gave him my time, my energy, my loyalty, and my inheritance. My parents left me a modest sum when they passed. Nothing extravagant, but enough to change a future if used wisely. Colin convinced me we should invest it together. Our future, he called it. I signed paperwork I didn't fully understand, trusting him because that's what you do when you love someone. That money built his brokerage partnership. That money became his cushion. That money made him look successful. He liked to joke that he married up. I laughed at the time, not realizing how true it was. And then came the sacrifices. Quiet, invisible ones nobody claps for. The maternity leave I extended because he needed to focus on the business. The nights I took over every responsibility with Arya because he was meeting clients. The marketing work I did for free, photos, branding, videos, hours I could have billed elsewhere. The vacations we canceled because he couldn't afford to take time off. Yet he returned with new watches, new shoes, new tech, little rewards he said he deserved. For years I told myself love required patience. For years I swallowed doubts, prayed for growth, and gave him benefit after benefit of the doubt. And the warning signs? God, they were everywhere. The way he angled his phone away from me on the couch, the sudden gym obsession, the overly curated selfies, the accidental liking of Sabrina Knox's posts after midnight. The time I caught a glimpse of a message thread but convinced myself I was overthinking, the way he got defensive anytime her name slipped into conversation. Every intuition screamed, but I didn't want to believe my marriage was fragile. I didn't want to believe I chose wrong. I didn't want to break our daughter's world the way mine had been broken. But betrayal works slowly. It doesn't hit like a truck. It erodes, drip by drip, until one day you fall straight through the floor. After the anniversary disaster, I drove to my sister Jenna's house. I didn't even get through the front door before she opened her arms and said, "What happened?" And I finally told her. The message, the emoji, the public humiliation, the lies I'd pretended weren't lies. She didn't hesitate. "Tal, he's been checking out for years. You're just done pretending now." Her words hurt more than Colin's did. But the real confirmation came later that night when Arya walked into Jenna's guest room, hugged me, and whispered, "Mom, I think he's been talking to that woman for a while." I saw some messages on his iPad months ago. I didn't know what to do. That was it. The last shred of denial snapped. Colin hadn't just betrayed me. He'd taught our daughter that betrayal was normal. He'd made her complicit in silence she shouldn't have had to carry. The stakes shifted instantly. This wasn't about a marriage anymore. This was about my dignity, my daughter's stability, my financial life, and the entire identity I'd built around keeping my family together. And now? Now I wasn't keeping anything together. I was about to take it all apart. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was crying, those tears had dried years ago, but because my mind was finally quiet in a way it hadn't been in a long time. For the first time, I wasn't begging myself to hold the marriage together. I wasn't bargaining. I wasn't praying. I wasn't rationalizing. I was planning. By sunrise, I had already listed every account we shared and every asset tied to my name. The moment I saw Colin's signature next to mine on things I had paid for alone, something dark settled in my chest. Clarity. I made coffee, sat at Jenna's kitchen table, and said the words out loud, almost to test how they tasted. I'm done. Jenna didn't flinch. Then let's move. And we did. The first call I made was to the bank. I froze our joint checking and pulled my inheritance-funded savings into a separate account. I canceled every card with my name on it, except one. I left the smallest limit card active on purpose because I wanted him to feel it. I wanted the moment his card declined to be the first crack in his fake confidence. The next call was to Rochelle Vance, one of the best divorce lawyers in the city. I'd met her once through a client, never imagining I'd need her. When she answered, her voice was calm, steady, and terrifyingly efficient. Tell me everything, she said. So I did. The anniversary message, the emotional affair, the inheritance, the business partnership, the investment condo, the years of gaslighting, the daughter stuck in the crossfire. Rochelle didn't gasp. She didn't pity me. She simply said, "All right, we start today." She asked for documents, bank statements, business contracts, mortgage files, partnership paperwork. Things Colin assumed I never paid attention to. He always believed I was too trusting, too soft, too distracted with motherhood to ever challenge him. He forgot I was a strategist by nature. He forgot I built brands for a living. He forgot I could read people better than he could sell to them. Most importantly, he forgot I'd been watching him long before I caught him. I spent the next 2 hours scanning documents, emailing files, gathering passwords, digging through drawers where I'd secretly kept copies of everything he thought I didn't notice. By late morning, Rochelle called back. "From what you've given me," she said, "we can move fast." Fast. That word felt like oxygen. Then came the move Colin never saw coming. I listed the investment condo. He always called it our future asset. Funny, considering I funded the down payment and covered most of the mortgage whenever he hit a slow month. Now it was mine again. I called the realtor I trusted more than him and said, "List it. Today." Meanwhile, Jenna packed clothes for me and Arya. She handled the small things while I handled the world-ending ones. Around noon, my phone lit up. Colin's name, over and over. Then texts, then more calls. I ignored them all. I waited for the moment. His first real moment of shock. It came faster than I expected. At 12:17 p.m., he sent a single message. "Why is my card declining?" I smiled without meaning to. Not because I enjoyed his panic, but because it was the first time in years the consequences landed on his doorstep instead of mine. "I'll talk when I'm ready," I replied. Nothing more. He responded instantly. "Talia, what's going on? Are you serious right now? Can you stop acting crazy? Call me." The old Talia would have folded. The old Talia would have apologized. The old Talia would have tried to explain gently. This version of me? I turned my phone face down, stood, and finally breathed. For the first time in 12 years, Colin was the one scrambling, and I was already 3 steps ahead. By early afternoon, the consequences had already begun spreading like cracks through Colin's perfectly polished image. The first ripple came from his business partner, Landon Price. At 2:09 p.m., my phone buzzed with an unknown number. I almost didn't answer until I saw the preview. "Talia, we need to talk about the partnership." I picked up. "Talia?" Landon said, voice tight, professional, but rattled. "I just got off the phone with the bank. They said you froze the joint accounts?" I didn't flinch. "Correct." There was a long silence. I could practically hear him calculating the damage, the commissions, the pending deals, the monthly expenses he suddenly realized he might have to cover alone. Finally, he exhaled sharply. "I assume this is related to last night." "Very much so." He cleared his throat, lowering his voice as if we were conspiring. "Look, I don't want to be in the middle of marital issues, but if you pull your capital out of the brokerage, we're done. Colin's already behind on 2 client refunds. We can't take another hit." There it was. The truth Colin never wanted me to know. He wasn't the backbone of that business. I was the funding. "I'm aware," I said. "Talia, be reasonable. You two can fix—" "We're not fixing anything." Another stretch of silence. Then quietly. "So it's over?" "It's been over," I said. "He just didn't know it." Landon exhaled again, heavier this time. "All right, I'll stay out of it. But you need to understand, when your capital goes, so does his reputation." "I understand perfectly." And I hung up. The second ripple hit the woman who caused the unraveling, Sabrina Knox. I didn't contact her. I didn't have to. Cheaters always make their own chaos without anyone's assistance. At 3:32 p.m., Jenna walked into the living room holding her phone. "Oh my God," she said, eyes wide. "You need to see this." Someone had taken a screenshot from the restaurant last night, a blurry image of Colin grabbing my wrist while I pulled away. The caption on the anonymous gossip page read, "Local agent causes a scene at Riverside rooftop. Wife walks out. Ex sends emoji the same night. Yikes." The comments were brutal. But the part that made my stomach drop was the one tagged under Sabrina's handle. "Isn't he the guy who used to stalk your page?" Within minutes, Sabrina locked her profile. 30 minutes later, she deleted their old tagged photos. An hour after that, she posted a story with a black screen saying, "I want no part of this drama." So much for the woman he wished were there. The third ripple came from Aria's school. I was sitting on Jenna's couch, laptop open, signing the formal request to transfer funds into a protected account, when the school number flashed across my screen. "Ms. Mercer?" the receptionist said warmly. "We just wanted to check in." Aria told her counselor something happened at home. She seemed worried. My heart squeezed. "Thank you for calling. She's safe. She's with me and my sister." "Good," she said. "She asked if her dad would be picking her up today. We told her we'd wait to hear from you." I swallowed. That small question, "Will Dad pick me up today?" felt like a dart straight into my chest. "Please put me on the pickup list as the only authorized parent for now," I said. "I'll handle the documentation." "Of course." Another ripple. Another reminder. This wasn't just my life shifting. It was hers, too. The fourth and most satisfying ripple came directly from Colin. He called 10 times. I ignored all 10. Then he switched tactics. "Colin, I just talked to Landon. You're jeopardizing my entire business." Me. "Correct." Colin. "Are you kidding me? After one misunderstanding?" Me. "It wasn't one." Colin. "Talia, you're being insane." Me. "I'm being done." He tried again a few minutes later. Colin. "I'm coming to get Aria. We need to talk." Me. "No, you don't." Colin. "She's my daughter too." Me. "Then you should have acted like someone worth respecting." 10 minutes passed, and then he crossed a line. Colin. "You're not going to ruin my life over some emoji." I laughed out loud, an involuntary, sharp laugh I didn't recognize as mine. So I replied, "Oh, Colin, the emoji was the least of your mistakes." He must have felt the shift in that message because no calls came after that. Just silence. Cold, unfamiliar silence from a man who always loved attention, until the attention wasn't admiration anymore. By sunset, the first consequences had landed everywhere they needed to. His business, his mistress, his social world, his pride, his image, all shaken, and he still had no idea what was coming next. The second public fallout wasn't planned, but betrayal has a way of staging its own scenes. It happened 3 days after the rooftop confrontation, at Arya's school fundraiser, a crowded Saturday event filled with parents, teachers, volunteers, and local donors. I didn't want to go. I barely had the emotional energy to get out of bed, let alone smile politely around small talk. But Arya had worked hard on her class project, and she wanted me there. So I showed up. I wore simple jeans, a black blouse, hair tied back, neutral, invisible if possible. But the moment I walked into the gymnasium, I felt it. Eyes. People whispering. The fallout from the rooftop photo had moved fast. I pretended not to notice, moving toward Arya's art display. Bright colors, messy lines, her little signature in the corner. I was admiring it when I heard my name. Talia. Colin's voice behind me. I turned slowly. He looked rough. Dark circles, unshaven. A tension in his jaw I knew meant he was unraveling. "We need to talk," he said. "No," I replied. "We don't." But he stepped closer anyway, lowering his voice in that patronizing tone he used when he wanted control. "You freezing the accounts? That was low, even for you." I exhaled slowly. "Walk away, Colin." He didn't. "I'm serious. You embarrassed me at the restaurant. You made Landon question our partnership, and you're poisoning Arya against me. Don't you dare blame me for the consequences of your actions." A few parents drifting near the snack table paused, pretending to look at the cookie trays while clearly listening. Colin noticed. And instead of backing down, he picked the worst option possible. He tried to perform. "You've always been dramatic," he said loudly, as if giving the audience a show. "You twist things in your head and then act like it's the truth." Several heads turned. I felt heat rising in my chest, not from shame, but from the rage of a woman done being spoken over. "You told your ex," I said just as loudly, "that you wished she were with you on our anniversary." The room stilled. Colin blinked. "Talia, please stop." "No," I said. "You told Sabrina Knox the picture I took made you miss her." A gasp somewhere behind me. A father near the silent auction area muttered, "Damn." Colin's cheeks flushed. "You're blowing this out of propor." "Then why did you delete the messages?" I cut in. "Why hide them? Why lie? Why make our daughter uncomfortable enough to tell a counselor?" This time, Colin's composure fractured. His voice rose. "You don't get to twist this into me being the bad guy. Sabrina messaged me first." "And you answered," I said. "Again and again, for months." Teachers were watching now, 3 of them near the stage, arms crossed. A group of mothers stood near the raffle booth, exchanging quiet looks. Even the school principal seemed frozen mid-conversation. Colin glanced around, realizing too late that he no longer had room to spin this into heroics. "Can we talk outside?" he begged, voice cracking. "Please. You're humiliating both of us." I almost laughed at the absurdity. I was humiliating us? "No," I said. "You humiliated me when you cheated. You humiliated me when you lied. And you humiliated yourself when you thought an emoji was worth risking your entire family." His eyes widened, stunned, not by the words, but by the fact I wasn't backing down. And then, out of nowhere, Sabrina appeared. She walked into the gym like she didn't know she was walking into a funeral. Hers, wearing yoga pants, sunglasses too big for indoors, and a look that was half curious, half panicked. The moment she saw me, her shoulders tensed. The moment she saw Colin, her face drained. "Why are you here?" I asked flatly. "I came to talk to him," she said. "He said it wasn't what it looked like." A murmur rippled through the room. Colin looked like he wanted to sink through the floor. Sabrina, not here. But she kept going. You told me you two were basically done. The oxygen in the gym evaporated. Parents stared. A teacher actually choked on her coffee. Someone whispered, "Oh, hell no." I took a single step closer to Colin. Basically done? I repeated. Talia, he whispered, begging, pleading, collapsing. No mercy. You told her that while still sleeping in my bed, I said. While still using my money. While still letting our daughter call you a role model. He looked around wildly, searching for someone, anyone, to defend him. No one did. Not one parent. Not one teacher. Not even Sabrina, who backed away like she'd suddenly realized she was standing next to a live grenade. So I ended it with a line that felt like it rose out of every woman he'd ever dismissed. I said it clearly, calmly, loud enough for everyone to hear. Congratulations, Colin. You finally get to see how small you look from the outside. A few parents covered their mouths. One whispered, "Oh my God," and I walked away. This time with the eyes of an entire room watching, but not in pity, in recognition, because everyone had just witnessed the moment Colin Reeves went from respected realtor to public embarrassment. And this was only the beginning of his downfall. By Monday morning, Colin finally realized humiliation wasn't a moment. It was a momentum. And he was standing in the middle of an avalanche. I found out the same way everyone else did, through Instagram. He posted a black and white selfie with that fake half smirk he used when he wanted sympathy. The caption read, "Sometimes the people you trust the most are the ones who hurt you. Doing my best to stay strong." I actually laughed, out loud. The comment section did not treat him kindly. At first, he got the usual pity comments, surface-level sympathy from people who didn't know the truth. But it took less than 10 minutes before someone mentioned the rooftop fight. Someone else mentioned Sabrina. Someone else said they were at the fundraiser and witnessed everything. The cracks opened fast. A real estate meme page screenshot his post and added, "Is this the same guy who got exposed at the school event? Asking for a friend." That alone would have been a problem. But then someone uploaded a short, grainy clip of the fundraiser confrontation. My voice. His lies. Sabrina's line. "You told me you two were basically done." And before noon, it hit TikTok. The comments were savage. He cheated with an ex and gaslit his wife? Classic. The ego on him to make a pity post afterward. Sir, we saw the footage. Not the motivational cheater arc. Realtors and their midlife crisis starter packs. By 3 p.m., he turned off comments. By 4 p.m., he archived the post. By 6 p.m., he started posting inspirational quotes like a man clinging to a sinking ship. Meanwhile, I stayed quiet. People underestimated silence. It made him look guilty all on its own. But the real destruction began when the screenshots started leaking. I didn't release them. I hadn't shared anything with anyone except my lawyer and my sister. But cheaters always leave loose ends, and Colin was no exception. A former assistant of his, someone he underpaid and treated like a receptionist, posted a story that said, "Funny how some men pretend they're victims now after deleting entire message threads for months." And she attached the receipts. Actual receipts. A screenshot of Colin messaging Sabrina. "She's asleep. Can talk now. I miss how easy things were with you. Just need some time to sort things out on my end." The internet devoured it. He tried to claim the screenshots were edited, which made everything worse. Because 10 minutes later, someone else posted a screen recording of old Instagram likes, showing Colin liking Sabrina's bikini photos at 1:22 a.m., 2:07 a.m., and 3:43 a.m. on different nights. Addicted, pathetic, documented. And that's when the hashtag appeared. Closed, with Colin. At first, it was just a play on his slogan, "Sold with Colin." But people started using it ironically. One woman posted, "He tried to show me a condo once and spent half the time flirting. Closed with Colin." Another, "He forgot my viewing appointment because he was busy posting selfies. Closed with Colin." And the worst one, the one that actually gained traction. He sold me a house but couldn't sell honesty to his own wife. Closed with Colin. 20,000 likes. 3,000 comments. Dozens of stitches. His entire online identity, carefully curated, painfully maintained, obsessively polished, was collapsing in real time. That was the social damage. The personal damage hit even harder. I found out later that Sabrina completely cut him off. She blocked his number, deleted their chat thread, and went back to posting self-care TikToks like none of this ever happened. But the final blow, the one that truly broke him, came from his brokerage. Around 7 p.m., Landon texted me. Meeting didn't go well. Your husband just imploded the brand. Then another message. He went live without telling anyone. I went straight to Instagram. He had ended the live by the time I opened the app, but the screen was flooded with comments from people who watched it. He cried. He blamed me. He blamed haters. He said he was being attacked by bitter people. He hinted that I had ruined his finances out of spite. He claimed Sabrina had misled him. He rambled. He spiraled. Someone posted a clip. He looked nothing like the Colin I had known. He looked smaller, desperate, defensive, unraveling in front of strangers. And the comments were merciless. Why do cheaters always run to Instagram Live? Bro, go fix your life offline. You doing PR or self-destruction? He's going through all 5 stages of grief in one stream. By the time the clip ended, I felt not joy, not satisfaction, just confirmation. This was a man who had built his entire identity on perception, and now perception was eating him alive. That night, I sat on Jenna's couch with a blanket over my legs and watched his entire digital world crumble with a calm I didn't expect. The PR war had begun. And Colin Reeves wasn't just losing. He was annihilating himself in front of everyone. And I hadn't even made my first public move yet. The morning after Colin's disastrous live stream, Rochelle called me first thing. Ready? She asked, voice crisp and composed. I didn't hesitate. Yes. Good. Today we flipped the switch. And she meant it. By noon, she had filed formal divorce proceedings, emergency financial protection orders, and requests for temporary custody. Colin had no idea yet. He'd wake up to it like a bomb detonating under his life. Rochelle handled everything with the grace of someone who had ruined men like him before breakfast. Now, she said, we move on the business. I didn't expect the business portion to unfold so quickly, but betrayal has a way of accelerating destruction. By mid-afternoon, Landon called again. This time, he didn't bother hiding his panic. Talia, he's bleeding clients. The fundraiser video is everywhere. That hashtag isn't going away. 3 homeowners canceled their listings this morning. They said they don't want to be associated with your personal drama. He spat out the last words like they tasted sour. My personal drama? I repeated. He sighed. You know what I mean. His reputation is toxic right now. Good. I didn't hide my satisfaction. I'm withdrawing my capital, I said calmly. Just as I informed you. I know. But I need to prepare the paperwork. This will cripple him. That's not my problem, I said, and ended the call. Minutes later, I received 3 emails from his brokerage. Confirmation of my capital withdrawal, formal dissolution of the silent investment agreement, and notice that Colin's position was under review. Translation. He was holding on by threads he'd already frayed. By the evening, the ripple effect reached his family. I wasn't planning to interact with them. At least, not yet. I didn't need their approval, their sympathy, or their side. But his mother, Elaine, called anyway. When I saw her name flash on the phone, I braced myself for disappointment. Instead, she sighed into the receiver, weariness dripping from every word. I don't know what to say to you, Talia, she whispered. Except, I'm sorry. I blinked. You're not the one who cheated. No, but I raised the one who did. That stunned me into silence. I saw the videos, she continued. I saw him grabbing your wrist at that restaurant. I saw that woman at the school. I saw his meltdown online. He's not the man I thought he'd be. I didn't know what to do with that. Elaine had always been polite, distant, never overtly warm, collateral damage from her own failed marriage, perhaps. He told me you froze the accounts, she added. Yes, I did. Good, she said. He needs consequences. God knows I never gave him enough of those. I wasn't sure whether to feel validated or sad for her. But then she said something that sealed the emotional coffin. If you need me to testify to anything, his temper, his lies, the way he'd disappear for parties and come home at 3 a.m., let me know. I'm done covering for him. That meant more legally than emotionally, and Rochelle confirmed it later. This helps, she said. A lot. But the biggest blow came from someone I didn't expect, Colin's older brother, Owen. He showed up at Jenna's house with a box of Colin's belongings from their shared storage unit. When I opened the door, he handed it to me without a word. I frowned. What is this? He asked me to pick some stuff up, Owen said. Golf clubs, tools, old files. I figured I'd bring everything so you didn't have to deal with him. His eyes were tired but sincere. I'm sorry, he said. About everything. He's spiraled before, but never like this. Never this public. I leaned on the doorframe. And he dragged your family name into it too. Owen nodded. He's blaming you to everyone, saying you sabotaged him, but no one's buying it anymore, not after the footage. Good. He ran a hand through his hair. Mom's done with him. Dad won't even answer his calls, and I told him he's not staying with me. He needs to deal with the mess he made. That's when I realized something important. Colin wasn't just losing a wife. He was losing the scaffolding that kept him upright. Everything he built was held up by people he took for granted. And now? They were walking away one by one. The final financial blow came when Rochelle emailed me the updated asset analysis. The investment condo? Mine. Paid with my inheritance. Protected under my name. The business capital. Withdrawn with full legal standing. The joint savings? Transferred. The joint checking? Frozen. The shared credit? Terminated. The house? Up for negotiation, but I had leverage, primary caregiver status, clean financial history, and evidence of his misconduct. Rochelle summarized it in one sentence. He's left with debt, a damaged reputation, and no liquidity. A perfect storm of consequences. But the moment that truly shifted everything, the one that marked the irreversible break, was when Colin finally realized just how cornered he was. He sent a single message after a day of silence. Where am I supposed to go? I read it twice. Not with sympathy, not with regret, but with a clarity 12 years in the making. I typed only 4 words. Anywhere but here, Colin. And I meant it. He didn't reply. And for the first time, his silence felt powerless instead of frightening. He wasn't a threat anymore. He wasn't a partner. He wasn't the center of my life. He was a man watching his world collapse. And I was the one holding the matchbox he thought I'd never dare open. I didn't plan the final confrontation. Honestly, I thought the divorce proceedings, the financial collapse, the social humiliation, and the world he'd burned through would be enough to keep him away. But men like Colin don't go quietly. They wait until they're desperate, cornered and hollow enough to come crawling back to the very person they destroyed. It happened late on a Thursday. I was home alone. Aria was at Jenna's, finishing homework and eating dinner. I had just finished reviewing one of Rochelle's documents when I heard the knock. It wasn't timid. It wasn't angry. It was something worse. Familiar. I froze for a breath, then walked to the door and opened it. Colin stood there, unshaven, eyes red, clothes wrinkled, shoulders hunched like the world had finally weighed itself on him. He looked nothing like the man who used to check his reflection in every car window. "Can we talk?" he asked. Not demanded, not insisted. Asked. I stepped outside, closing the door behind me. "We can talk," I said. "But you're not coming in." He nodded slowly, swallowing whatever pride he had left. "That's fair." We stood in the porch light, Like two people who once shared everything and now shared nothing but air and consequences. He exhaled shakily. I lost my job. I know, I said. Landon called yesterday. They officially terminated you. And my accounts are empty. Yes. And my mother isn't speaking to me. She called me crying, I said. She's done covering for you. His eyes flickered with something painful. Maybe the first real consequence that actually broke him. And Owen told me not to stay with him, he murmured. He made the right choice. Colin nodded again, staring at the concrete. Everything is gone, Tal. I didn't correct him. I let him feel the weight of that truth. Because it wasn't gone. It was taken back. Piece by piece. Why are you here? I finally asked. He lifted his head. And for the first time in years, he didn't look like a confident realtor, or a manipulator, or a man who thrived on attention. He looked lost, small, human, and still, it wasn't enough to move me. I don't know who I am without you, he whispered. A line that once would have shattered me. Now, it only confirmed how much he'd relied on me to hold together his sense of self. That's not my responsibility, I said softly. He flinched. I know that now. I messed up everything. No, I replied. You didn't mess up. You made choices. He dragged a hand through his hair. I never meant to hurt you. Sabrina was just... Don't, I cut in sharply. Do not say her name to me. Not here. He closed his eyes. Okay, I'm sorry. I shook my head. You're not sorry for what you did. You're sorry because you got caught. You're sorry because you lost everything. That's not true, he said, voice cracking. I regret it all. Every message, every lie, every late night. I wanted to feel wanted. And you were, I said. By me, for 12 years. Until you threw it away for attention. He winced. Good. Let the truth bruise. He stepped closer, desperation leaking out of him. Is there any chance at all that we can fix this? I'll go to therapy. I'll do anything. Please. No, I said. There isn't. He stared at me, stunned, as if he thought the right combination of apologies could undo reality. He reached for my hand like he had 1,000 times before. I stepped back. Don't, I said firmly. His voice broke. I love you. You love control, I replied. You love validation. You love ego boosts. You love women making you feel important. But you never loved me. Not the way I deserved. He shook his head. That's not true. You loved the version of me who stayed quiet, I said. The version who forgave. The version who held everything together so you could pretend to be a good man. The wind moved between us, cold and undeniable. And that version of me, I added, is gone. He sank onto the porch step, burying his face in his hands. I don't know what to do. That's because for the first time in your life, I said, you don't have a woman saving you. He inhaled sharply, because it was true, and he knew it. You're not coming back from this, are you? He whispered. No, I said. I'm not. He looked up, eyes glassy. So what happens now? Now, I said gently, you deal with the consequences you spent years avoiding. He swallowed. And us? There is no us, not anymore. He nodded slowly, like his body understood before his ego did. He stood, wiped his face with the back of his hand, and took a breath that shook so hard it almost sounded like a sob. I'll sign whatever you need, he said quietly. Just don't turn Arya against me. I don't have to, I said. You did that all on your own. His shoulders collapsed. I opened the door behind me, not for him, but because this conversation was done. Goodbye, Colin, I said. He flinched at the word. Goodbye wasn't a pause. Goodbye wasn't a break. Goodbye was a burial. He took a shaky step back. Then another. He stared at me one last time, maybe searching for the woman he once controlled, but she wasn't there anymore. He turned and walked toward his car, shoulders shaking, silhouette folding under the streetlight. And as I stepped inside and locked the door, I said the line that would serve as the final nail in the coffin he built himself. "You lost me the moment you forgot I was the one who took that picture." And just like that, the story of us ended, and the story of me began. 7 months. That's how long it took for my life to feel like mine again. Not perfect, not polished, not some overnight reinvention. Just mine. Quiet, steady, and finally honest. The divorce finalized faster than expected. Rochelle called me on a gray Tuesday morning, her voice calm and warm for the first time since all this started. "It's done," she said. "You're officially free." And I felt something loosen inside me, like the last knot untied after years of pulling. Aria and I moved into a smaller home across town. Humble, bright, full of windows and soft morning light. Nothing extravagant. Nothing curated for Instagram. Nothing Colin would have chosen. It was perfect. She adjusted faster than I imagined. Maybe because she felt the tension leave the air, like a room finally ventilated after a long, suffocating winter. Some nights she'd sit with me on the couch doing homework while I finished digital marketing tasks for clients. More than once she'd lean her head on my shoulder and whisper, "You seem happier, Mom." And I was. Not because everything was easy, but because nothing was hidden anymore. I rebuilt slowly. New clients, new savings, new routines, new boundaries, new confidence. I went on walks. I cooked dinner without rushing. I slept without listening for footsteps or late-night lies. I laughed more. Small, sincere laughs that didn't feel borrowed or forced. People think healing is loud, dramatic, cinematic. It isn't. It's mundane. It's slow. It's choosing yourself in moments no one claps for. Meanwhile, Colin faded from the center of my world the way a fire does when it runs out of oxygen. Quickly at first, then quietly, until all that's left is cool ash and a faint memory of heat. Last I heard, he was renting a room behind an older co-worker's house. The brokerage replaced him permanently. The hashtag died down, swallowed by the internet's endless hunger for new chaos. Sabrina moved states. Even his family kept distance, not out of cruelty, but exhaustion. He became irrelevant to the story he once believed he controlled. One afternoon, months after everything settled, I ran into Elaine at the grocery store. She hugged me. Unexpected, warm, long. "You look lighter," she said. "I feel lighter." She nodded. "I always hoped he'd grow into the man you thought he was. But sometimes, a woman's strength is supposed to be used for her own life, not holding someone else's together." That line stayed with me. Because that was my real transformation. Not revenge, not victory, not proving anything to anyone, but learning where my strength actually belonged. A few weeks later, I stood with Aria at the school art showcase. She'd improved so much. Her sketching was confident now, bold, expressive. As we walked through the hall, one of her teachers approached me. "She's flourishing," she said softly. "You both are." I smiled because this time it didn't feel like a polite comment. It felt true. On the drive home, Aria looked out the window and said, "You know, I don't miss how things used to be." I didn't either. And that was the moment I knew the transformation wasn't just mine. It was ours. One night, about 7 months after the divorce, I received a message from an unknown number. I almost didn't open it, but curiosity won. It was from Colin. Just one sentence. "I hope you're doing better." There was no anger in me, no bitterness, no fire, just distance. Peaceful, unshakable distance. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. My silence wasn't revenge. It wasn't punishment. It was closure. Because he no longer had access to the woman I used to be. The one who begged, explained, compromised, apologized, shrank. That version of me was gone. And in her place stood someone rebuilt. Not from what was left of the marriage, but from what was left of me. As I turned off the phone and stepped onto the balcony, The evening breeze felt like a reminder. Freedom doesn't come from leaving someone. It comes from finally returning to yourself. And that was the quiet miracle of it all. Betrayal didn't destroy me. It delivered me back to my life. A life where I wasn't waiting to be chosen. A life where I set the standard. A life where I could breathe, and rise, and begin again. Thank you for your audience. If you liked this story, please subscribe to Velvet Revenge channel, hit the like button, and comment the city you're watching from. Have a good one.